Breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ. Carlos Rodon was near perfect. 2 outs in the 9th facing Jordan Luplow. 1 out away from a no-hitter. Ground ball to third. Ball game. And Carlos Rodon throws the 20th no-hitter in White Sox history. Hadn't been that long ago since a no-no in White Sox history. Lucas Giolito tossed one just last season, but it had been a long time since a perfect game. Got to go back to 2012. There were 3 of them that year. Phil Umber by the White Sox, Matt Cain, and then Felix Hernandez. And Carlos Rodon was about to add his name to that list, but Carlos Perez decided to take a hit by pitch when he didn't really have to, but he did anyway. So, missed perfection by that much. They don't happen all that often. Again, 9 years ago was the last time we saw a perfect game. The last pitcher to lose a perfect game in the 9th was the Nationals' Max Scherzer. Hit a batter. Jose Tabata was the hitter on that day in 2015. I can still remember yelling at the screen, get out of the way. Still got the no-hitter, but didn't get the perfect game. And I'm an Indians fan, and I'm rooting for Carlos Rodon this night because that was fantastic. What a job by a guy who was non-tendered in December. And then Joe, he signs a 1-year, $3 million. So essentially the White Sox let him go. They're going to make him a free agent. Nobody wants him. Comes back to the team that drafted him 3rd overall in 2015. And this is a prove-it year. And he throws a no-hitter.
To refocus and reach back after you lost a perfect game and complete the no-no on a night after we had 2 dueling aces going at it. Yeah. Carlos Rodon steals the headlines on the South Side, twirling an absolute gem.
Welcome in former MLB Executive of the Year, CBS Sports baseball insider Jim Bowden. Jim, near perfection for Carlos Rodon. Your instant reaction is what?
Well, Akeem and Joe, look, I was a big fan of Rodon when he was drafted 3rd overall in the 2014 draft. High velocity, great slider. You knew he'd be a #1 starter. And for 7 years, I've watched him go through 1 elbow injury to another, 1 shoulder injury to another. Never been healthy, always had trouble commanding his great stuff in the zone. And to be able to watch him now, 7 years later, throw a no-hitter in almost a perfect game, I'm so happy for him. I'm so happy for his family. And this is a guy on this night that just had that dominating stuff, the same stuff we saw 7 years ago. 95 to 99 miles an hour on the fastball tonight. But it was that 87-mile-an-hour slider that over and over again, those Indian hitters just had no chance tonight. Just so impressive. You look at the number of first pitch strikes he threw on this night, 10 ground ball outs, 5 fly ball outs. He was pitching to contact. He was making pitches when he had to. What a special night for him. And he's such a great guy, such a great competitor. But for all he's been through, and then as you mentioned, non-tendered in December, and anybody could have signed him. He comes back on a 1-year, $3 million deal, and now looks like the ace we all thought he'd be 7 years ago. What a great story of resiliency. What a great comeback story it is for Rodon.
Pure joy and adulation right there as he does get the no-no completed. Sort of uncharted territory for Rodon. Just his 2nd career complete game. And the road there, the final 3 outs were something special. We're going to take a look here at this sequence coming down the stretch with Jose Abreu making a huge play for his pitcher. And oftentimes in these perfect games, in these no-hitters, there is that play. And we thought we were headed to perfection. Some unwritten rules here as we do have a hit by pitch, but here is that look at the play by Abreu. Rodon unable to get over and cover the bag. Abreu stretching out and really, putting that leg on the line, just beating the base runner to the bag for the first out of the inning. Jim, as you're watching this in real time, what's going through your head as the reigning AL MVP is putting his body on the line?
I think he's probably the only first baseman that would have made the play because he put his health at risk on making the play. You never take a firm front leg and extend it the way you do to the base. You got to have your knee bent a little bit because it's too easy to blow an ACL or an MCL on a play like that. But Abreu understood what was on the line. It was a no-hitter. He was going to do everything he could. And the fact that he got him out there on that play, it was really an underrated, incredible play. It saved the no-hitter. But I got to tell you, most first basemen won't make that play because he sacrificed really what could have been his health on that play. Tremendous. I just love it. I love the competitiveness there, and that, of course, saved the no-hitter.
Yeah, I'm still sitting here in shock because I think back, as do you, Joe, to 2010 when we had Armando Galarraga throw a near perfect game, right? Jim Joyce blows the call first. It's against the Cleveland Indians.
As you pointed out, yeah.
Here we are on this night against the Cleveland Indians, and look, I know that it wasn't Jason Donald was the runner at the time. I know that wasn't his fault. It was the first base umpire, who's honestly one of the best umpires in MLB history, Jim Joyce. Roberto Perez in that moment, Jim, I feel like have some awareness. Like, just get out of the way. Like, don't get hit. Like, don't be cheap in that moment. What do you do in that moment?
You get hit by a pitch and you go to first base. That's what you do. And by the way, did you see the bite on the slider?
It was filthy.
It was moving at him, to be fair.
It was filthy.
It was filthy. But look, you got to do your job, and you got to try. Look, that last at bat of the no-hitter. I mean, took it 3-2. He was grinding at bats. That's what you have to do. You want to break up the no-hitter any way you can. You want to break up the perfect game any way you can. Look, it was fair and square, a no-hitter, and you just missed the perfect game on that one slider. But besides that, it was perfect. And you talked about that play with Galarraga. Back then, there was an instant replay, right? If there had been, Galarraga would have had it. On this play, there was instant replay, and it had to be reviewed. And quite frankly, when I saw it live, I thought there was a good chance he was safe. The replay clearly showed he was out, so we knew at that point that the replay and the play would be held up. But a big difference in 2021 than it was back then in 2010.
So now in the span of 5 days, we have 2 no-hitters, not broken up by a base on ball, rather by a hit by pitch. Some interesting stuff happening across the bigs right now, Jim. But this is a White Sox team that came into the season with big-time expectations, maybe falling short of those expectations, at least on the offensive side of things, and frankly on the defensive side with the errors that they've committed. What can an experience do like this to galvanize a group early on in the season?
Well, they're going to be contenders all year. And, you mentioned Musgrove's no-hitter on Friday. Look, Musgrove and Rodon throwing the no-hitters, both of them are what, 3rd or 4th best starters on their team. Both of these teams are teams we're expecting to get the playoffs. In fact, I predicted both would get in as wild card teams. That's how I see them. I had the Twins and Dodgers winning their respective divisions. But this brings the team together. I mean, this is, when you get a no-hitter, it's not just about the pitcher. And how about, we didn't give him credit yet to Zach Collins, the rookie catcher who caught this game. He did a phenomenal job in calling a game and framing some pitches and stealing some strikes. So let's make sure we give Zach Collins some love here. But there's no question, this team is close. They've had to deal with some injuries. Eloy Jimenez out. Timmy Anderson just coming back. But look, this is a team that's going to be in the pennant race all year. It's a fun team to watch, no doubt about it. And this is going to unify the team. But to think that in the back of the rotation, Rodon throws this perfect game, they've got another ace to go with Giolito now at the top. That's what we've seen all year, not just this start. He's completely back, and you put them with Keuchel and Lance Lynn, all of a sudden, your 4-man rotation in October, it's going to be scary if they get there.
I do have to point out that in 2007, Mark Burley's perfect game was not A.J. Przinsky behind the dish. It was Eric Cooper. So we were trying to draw some parallels and get us perfect, but it is a no-no in the end.
Yeah, and Jim, you bring up a great point in terms of Zach Collins, because I've been doing some research in terms of what scouts were saying about him. They were not even sure if he was going to stick at catcher for the White Sox. And Carlos Rodon, again, non-tendered in December, go be a free agent, come on back for a 1-year deal. I mean, if I had told you Carlos Rodon would throw a no-hitter to Zach Collins in mid-April, you would have said what before the season?
I would have said you're mistaken. It was Giolito on the mound that threw that perfect game is what I would have said. But I'm really happy for Carlos, because this is the guy that was the 3rd best player in the 2014 draft. This was a player that when he was drafted was supposed to look like this. And it's taken 7 years, but he's here and he's finally healthy. Exciting news for everyone on the south side of Chicago and Deep Dish Pizza.
Jim, great stuff. Always a special night when we talk about a no-hitter. Would have been awesome to have a perfect game, but still, nonetheless, a no-hitter for Carlos Rodon. You got to feel good for him on his journey back to now being atop in terms of the headlines of baseball right now. I feel great for him because the road that he's had to take to get back here with shoulder, elbow injuries, and now throws a no-hitter to kind of really, that's been the highlight of his career outside of getting drafted 3rd overall in 2014. But
want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.